All right, so get ready because this deep dive, well, it's going to take us down a pretty fascinating path.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're exploring love,
Okay.
forgiveness, and our purpose in life, but with a twist.
Interesting.
Yeah, you ready for this?
I think so.
Okay, our source material comes from Hypnotic Communication with Another Realm.
Wow. So we'll be exploring the work of Božidar and Lara, a father-daughter duo.
A father-daughter duo.
Yeah, and they've been pushing the boundaries of hypnotherapy. Božidar is a hypnotherapist
Right.
with over 20 years of experience, and he discovered that by guiding certain individuals into very specific hypnotic states, they seem to be able to tap into a whole other level of consciousness.
Whoa.
Yeah, some people might call this accessing the Akashic records, or even connecting with other dimensions.
And so it's Lara who acts as the conduit.
Under hypnosis, right?
Yeah.
Communicating with these entities from this other realm.
Exactly. And what I find so fascinating is the way they approach these big existential questions with such straightforward answers.
Yes, and what's even more interesting is that their answers often challenge our conventional thinking.
Right.
You know, providing a fresh perspective on things we might think we already understand.
Oh, totally.
Like, for example, let's start with forgiveness, specifically forgiving ourselves.
Okay.
We often frame this as a purely internal struggle, right?
Yeah.
Battling guilt, shame, that inner critic.
Yeah, totally. It was like wrestling with our own ego.
Right.
But from what I'm reading here, these entities suggest it's not that simple.
Yeah, it's not that simple.
They seem to emphasize the role other people play in our self-forgiveness journey.
Exactly. They argue that it's the judgments and reactions of others that often make us doubt ourselves in the first place. Think about it. Like, if someone close to you did something you didn't agree with, would your reaction influence their feelings about what they did?
That's a good point. I know I've definitely felt more confident in decisions when the people I cared about supported me, even if others didn't. But how does that tie back to the idea of self-forgiveness?
Well, the entities give the example of leaving a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
They ask if the other person was completely okay with the decision. Would you even question yourself?
Probably not.
Likely not. It's when others express disapproval, disappointment, even anger, that we start to internalize those feelings and doubt ourselves.
Okay, I see what you mean. It's like we absorb those external judgments and turn them inward, even if deep down we felt the decision was right for us. So are they saying that our own feelings about the situation are irrelevant?
Not necessarily. They seem to be highlighting the impact of external influences on our internal state.
Okay.
It's not that our own feelings don't matter, but those external judgments can amplify our own insecurities and make it harder to forgive ourselves.
Yeah, this is already making me rethink some past experiences where I felt a ton of guilt. But maybe it was more about how others perceived the situation than my own internal compass.
Right. That's a great example of how these insights can be applied in a practical way. You know, it encourages us to examine those feelings of guilt and ask ourselves, is this truly coming from within, or am I carrying the weight of someone else's judgment?
It's like separating our own genuine remorse from the echoes of other people's opinions now on a slightly different note. I'm curious about what these entities have to say about our purpose in life. Do we come into this world with a predetermined destiny, or are we just making it up as we go along?
The age-old question of purpose. What's fascinating here is that they suggest it's a bit of both.
A bit of both.
Yeah, they acknowledge that every soul has a role to play, but they also emphasize that it's not as fixed or predetermined as we might imagine.
Okay.
Our primary purpose, they suggest, is simply to be here.
Just be here.
Yeah.
That sounds incredibly simple, almost too simple.
Right, but there's a deeper meaning to it. They use the analogy of actors auditioning for a play.
Okay.
We don't know the script beforehand,
Right.
but we show up, embrace the unknown, and see how it unfolds.
So we're all essentially actors in this grand play of life, each with our own unique role to discover and perform. It's not about striving for some specific outcome, but rather about being present and participating fully in the experience.
Exactly. And while they acknowledge that some individuals might have particularly impactful roles on a global scale, they emphasize that every single person's contribution is important.
Oh, I see.
They use the example of an anthill,
Okay.
where each ant has its role, and together they create something much greater than themselves.
I love that analogy.
Oh.
So even if we don't achieve some grand world-changing feat, our everyday actions and interactions still matter in the grand scheme of things.
Absolutely. Our lives are interconnected in ways we may never fully comprehend.
Yeah.
We're all bumping into each other, creating ripples and influencing each other's paths. They call it the helping hands concept.
I like that.
Even seemingly small actions can have a profound impact on others.
So it's not necessarily about finding our one true calling,
Yeah.
but rather about embracing each moment, each interaction, and allowing ourselves to be guided by the flow of life.
Precisely. It's about trusting that we're exactly where we need to be doing exactly what we're meant to be doing.
Yeah.
Even when we don't have all the answers.
This is already shifting my perspective on how I view my own life and my place in the world. Now, we've talked about forgiveness and purpose, but there's one more biggie. We need to address love. Where does this powerful emotion truly come from? Is it all in the heart, a soul connection, or something else entirely?
The entities offer a perspective that might surprise you. They suggest that love as a concept originates not from the heart, but from the soul.
From the soul?
Yeah, they describe the soul as a program that's constantly learning and evolving through our experiences,
That's it?
including those from past lives.
Wait, so they believe in past lives, and that these past lives influence our current understanding of love?
Yes, that seems to be their perspective. They suggest that through our experiences, the soul learns to associate certain actions and sensations with the hormonal response of happiness, which we then label as love.
So it's a combination of biology and experience shaped by both this life and previous ones.
Exactly. Think about it. When we experience something pleasurable, like a hug, a kind gesture, a moment of connection, our brains release feel-good hormones like dopamine and oxytocin.
Right.
Over time, we start to associate those feelings with the actions or people that triggered them, and we call it love.
It's like a form of conditioning, almost like Pavlov's dog.
That's a great analogy. We're constantly bombarded with images and stories that reinforce this association between specific actions and the feeling of love. Romantic movies, love songs, grand gestures, they all contribute to this learned understanding of what love should look and feel like.
But then how do they explain the difference between, say, a fleeting infatuation and that deep, enduring love that lasts a lifetime?
That's where things get really interesting. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve deeper into their ideas about true love soul connections and the surprising ways we might be sabotaging our own chances of finding lasting love. Welcome back. We were just starting to unpack the idea of true love and how it might differ from those initial sparks of attraction or infatuation.
Right, and I'm curious to hear what these entities have to say about it. Do they believe in soulmates, or the idea that we're destined to find that one perfect person?
That's where their perspective gets a little more nuanced.
Okay.
They don't outright dismiss the idea of soul connections,
Okay.
but they suggest it's more about resonance than destiny.
Okay.
They believe it's possible for souls to recognize each other from past lives or even across dimensions, but it's not about finding the one so much as recognizing a soul that vibrates at a similar frequency.
Okay, I've heard that phrase before, vibrating at the same frequency. But what does it actually mean in this context?
Think of it as a shared energy or a sense of alignment.
Okay.
In terms of values, beliefs, and even life experiences. They suggest that when two souls resonate in this way, there's a sense of deep understanding and acceptance that goes beyond the superficial. It's like speaking the same language, even if you come from different backgrounds.
So you might meet someone and just feel this instant connection, like you've known them forever, even though you just met.
Exactly. And it's not necessarily about romantic love either.
Oh.
It could be a deep friendship, a mentor-student relationship, even a connection with a family member that feels especially profound. They suggest these soul connections are meant to help us grow and evolve both individually and collectively.
That's really beautiful. But it also makes me wonder, if these soul connections are so powerful, why do so many relationships fall apart? If true love is about this deep soul resonance, shouldn't it be unbreakable?
That's where the idea of free will comes into play. They acknowledge that even when there's a strong soul connection, individuals still have the choice to follow their own paths. Sometimes those paths diverge, leading to separation, even if there's still love and respect between them.
So it's not that the love itself fades away, but rather that circumstances, choices, or even just the natural evolution of individual souls can lead to different journeys.
That's how they seem to see it. They also suggest that sometimes those breakups can be opportunities for growth and learning,
Right.
both for the individuals involved and for the souls themselves. It's not about assigning blame or labeling relationships as failures, but rather about recognizing the lessons learned and the growth that can come from those experiences.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. It takes the pressure off the idea of finding that one perfect person, and instead focuses on the journey itself, the growth and evolution that happen within each relationship, regardless of whether it lasts a lifetime or a season.
Right, and they make another intriguing point.
Okay.
They suggest that sometimes we might even sabotage those deeper connections because we're more comfortable with the familiar patterns of dysfunctional relationships. It's like we're drawn to the drama and intensity,
Okay.
even if it ultimately leads to pain and heartbreak.
Wait, so we're actually attracted to unhealthy relationship dynamics. Why would we do that?
They suggest it might be because we're subconsciously trying to recreate patterns from past lives or even from our childhoods. It's like we're drawn to what feels familiar, even if it's not ultimately good for us.
So it's almost like an addiction. We crave those emotional highs and lows, even if they leave us feeling depleted and heartbroken in the end.
That's one way to look at it. They use the analogy of a roller coaster.
Okay.
It's exciting and thrilling in the moment, but eventually it comes to an end and we're left feeling a little bit sick and disoriented.
And just like a roller coaster, those turbulent relationships can be addictive. We crave the adrenaline rush, the drama, the intensity, but at what cost?
They argue that those intense, passionate relationships often stem from a need for external validation rather than a genuine desire for connection. We're looking to others to fill a void within ourselves rather than cultivating love and acceptance from within.
That makes a lot of sense. If we're not comfortable with ourselves and our own company, we're more likely to seek that validation from romantic partners, leading to those unhealthy dependencies and dramatic ups and downs.
Precisely, they suggest that the key to breaking free from this pattern is to cultivate self-love and find fulfillment in other areas of our lives. Instead of seeking that emotional roller coaster from romantic relationships, we can channel that energy into passions, hobbies, creative pursuits, anything that brings us joy and a sense of purpose outside of romantic love.
So it's about diversifying our sources of happiness and fulfillment, not putting all our eggs in the romantic love basket.
Exactly. It's about becoming whole and complete within ourselves so that we can approach relationships from a place of strength and independence rather than neediness or desperation.
This is really resonating with me. It's a reminder that true love starts with loving ourselves and creating a life that feels fulfilling and meaningful, regardless of our relationship status. But I'm also wondering, if we do reach that point of self-love and fulfillment, how does that affect who we attract into our lives?
That's where things get really exciting. The entities suggest that when we raise our own vibration, so to speak, we naturally attract those who are vibrating at a similar frequency.
So we attract what we are.
Yeah.
If we're radiating self-love, confidence, and a sense of purpose, we're more likely to draw in people who embody those same qualities.
That's the idea. It's about lining our energy with what we desire to experience in relationships. And it all starts with inner work, cultivating self-love, pursuing our passions, and finding fulfillment outside of romantic partnerships.
This is giving me so much to think about. It's almost like a paradigm shift in how I view love and relationships. It's not about finding the one to complete us, but about becoming whole ourselves and attracting those who complement our wholeness.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that true love is a reflection of the love we cultivate within ourselves and the energy we put out into the world.
This has been such an enlightening conversation. We've explored the depths of self-forgiveness, the complexities of purpose, and the transformative power of true love. But there's still one burning question I have. How can we apply these insights to our everyday lives and create more fulfilling relationships?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll explore in our final part. Stay tuned as we delve into the practical steps we can take to cultivate self-love, break free from unhealthy relationship patterns, and open ourselves to the possibility of true connection.
Welcome back. I don't know about you, but this exploration of love, forgiveness, and purpose, all guided by these hypnotic communications.
Yeah.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
It really is. It's such a unique lens to view these universal human experiences, isn't it?
Totally. We've covered so much ground already,
We have.
like challenging our assumptions about self-forgiveness,
Right.
exploring the idea of souls resonating across time and dimensions, and even realizing that maybe true love isn't about those dramatic highs and lows, but rather a much deeper sense of alignment and acceptance. So in this final part, we're going to get practical.
Okay.
We've explored the why. Now let's talk about the how.
All right.
What can we actually do to integrate these insights into our lives and create more fulfilling relationships?
You asked them $1 million question, right?
Yeah, I'm ready to put these ideas into action.
Okay.
So where do we begin?
Well, based on what I'm gathering from the source material, one of the most important steps is to cultivate self-love and acceptance.
Okay.
The entities emphasize that true love starts within.
Yeah.
Like if we don't love and value ourselves, we'll constantly seek validation from external sources,
Right.
often leading to unhealthy relationship dynamics.
That makes sense. But self-love can be such a loaded term.
Yeah.
What does it actually look like in practice?
It's about treating ourselves with the same kindness, compassion, and respect we would offer to a dear friend.
Oh, okay.
It's about recognizing our worthiness of love and belonging, regardless of our perceived flaws or shortcomings. And it's about setting healthy boundaries and making choices that nourish our mind, body, and spirit.
So it's about prioritizing our own well-being,
Yes.
both physically and emotionally.
Exactly.
That makes me think of the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
Like if we're depleted and running on fumes, we won't have much to give to others,
Right.
let alone attract healthy relationships.
Exactly. Self-care isn't selfish.
Right.
It's essential.
Okay.
When we fill our own cups, we have more to offer to the world and to the people we love.
Right.
And it creates a sense of inner peace and stability that makes us less likely to seek external validation or get caught up in those dramatic relationship cycles.
Okay. I'm on board with the self-love piece.
Mm-hmm.
But what about breaking free from those unhealthy patterns we were talking about earlier? How do we stop attracting those same kinds of people or repeating those same destructive dynamics?
The entities suggest that awareness is the first step. We need to recognize the patterns we're repeating, the types of people we're drawn to, and the underlying beliefs or fears that might be driving those choices.
Right.
Once we become aware of those patterns, we can start to challenge them and make different choices.
So it's about taking responsibility for our role in those patterns,
Yeah.
rather than blaming others or feeling like a victim of circumstance. It's about recognizing our own power to break free and create something different.
That's a great way to put it. They also suggest exploring those patterns in a therapeutic setting,
Okay.
either through individual therapy or even hypnotherapy like Božidar and Lara's work.
Right.
These modalities can help uncover those deeper subconscious beliefs that might be holding us back.
That's a great point. Sometimes we need a little extra support to unravel those deeply ingrained patterns and rewrite those old scripts.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about opening ourselves up to the possibility of true connection. We've talked about raising our vibration and attracting those who are vibrating at a similar frequency. But how do we actually do that?
They emphasize the importance of pursuing our passions and engaging in activities that bring us joy and a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
When we're doing things we love, we naturally radiate a positive energy that attracts others who are similarly passionate and engaged in life.
So it's not about changing ourselves to fit some ideal or trying to force connections. It's about being authentically ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and allowing our true selves to shine.
Exactly. They also suggest the importance of being open-minded and stepping outside of our comfort zones.
Okay.
That might mean trying new activities, joining different social groups, or even just being more willing to strike up conversations with people we wouldn't normally approach.
It's about expanding our horizons and creating more opportunities for serendipitous encounters.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, maybe we'll meet someone who shares our passions, resonates with our energy, and sparks that kind of deep connection we've been exploring.
It's certainly possible, and even if those encounters don't lead to romantic relationships, they can enrich our lives in countless ways. We might discover new interests, form meaningful friendships, or simply expand our circle of connection.
This has been such a rich and insightful deep dive.
It has.
We've uncovered so much wisdom from these hypnotic communications.
Yeah.
From the power of self-forgiveness to the importance of finding fulfillment outside of romantic relationships, to the possibility of connecting with souls who vibrate at a similar frequency.
Absolutely.
I encourage everyone listening to continue exploring these concepts, to challenge their own assumptions about love, forgiveness, and purpose, and to keep seeking those deeper truths that lie hidden within the depths of human experience. Who knows what other surprising insights await us?
The possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
And as we continue to learn and evolve, both individually and collectively, who knows what kind of love, connection, and purpose we might create in this world.
That's a beautiful thought to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking those surprising truths that make life so incredibly fascinating.